Welcome to another episode of Intuition First podcast with your hosts, Heather McKay and Christine Mira. We're here to connect you to your intuition and the gifts of the universe to get more out of your life and your business.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Intuition First. This is episode 4. I am your co-host, Heather McKay.
And I'm Christine Mira. Hi.
Good to see you today, Christine. Today, we're going to talk about scarcity and scarcity mindset and what all of that means. I know we hear this term thrown around a lot. I don't know if everybody knows really what that means. So tell me a little more about give us a definition of scarcity.
Scarcity is an energetic conversation. It is when your heart sinks, your chest gets tight, everything feels inward. It's you just feel like you're contracted like a net, just small, and everything just sort of settles very densely in your body. And so scarcity we define as the idea of fear. We call it the fear frequency, scarcity minded, meaning that everything that you have to create in the world, you have to fight for. You have to grasp on and hold on and never let go because you're never going to get any more of it. That's what scarcity is. Scarcity is the idea that the only way to be in the world is to claw after it and grab after it. And if you get it, you better not let it go because there's nothing else that's going to come towards you because this is all you get.
Right.
That's what scarcity is.
And I know in business sometimes we'll see people making an offer, and then they'll say there's only 3 spots left, or you're only going to have this opportunity for the next 15 minutes or whatever, and that would be an example of scarcity in a business context. And then there's scarcity like if you're in poverty or something, and say resources are literally scarce. There's not enough money, there's not enough food, there's not enough gas in the car. I mean, that's literal scarcity of resources too. And I think a lot of times, especially when there's scarcity of resources, or you've been brought up with that you get in that mindset where it's like you can't get out of it, no matter if you do have plenty of gas in the tank or food on the table. Sometimes that mindset sticks around because you've been conditioned to think that way.
Right. So there's this thing, it's called it's a frequency of scarcity. And so while you may be able to fill your gas tank and buy food, your mindset is that there's not enough. And so what you speak into your life is there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. And suddenly there's not enough of anything. And every time you turn your focus towards something inside you, you're telling yourself, there's not enough, I'm not enough, there's not enough, I'm not enough. And everything becomes a challenge. And so it's really hard to live in a place of gratitude and generosity and kindness when you're saying to yourself, there's not enough, I'm not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. You see, even as I say those words about not being enough, you feel it in your body. Like when I'm speaking, and I feel that in my heart get really, really tight. And we all know that whatever we're thinking gets translated out into the physical world. Again, we go into that conversation of taking that breath down to our belly button and it comes out through the solar plexus and into our aura. So remember, we talked about that first thought of the day after we sit and breathe and meditate. However we go out into the day, that is our reality. We're creating whatever it is that we're going out into the world. So when you're telling yourself, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough, your experience of the world everywhere, lessons, people, conversations, it reinforces the not enoughness.
Right.
And that stays energetically embedded into your nervous system. And you walk around like you'll see people in the world where they look fearful or they look downtrodden just by their stature, just how they hold their body. Then you'll see somebody else who's really successful, or maybe an athlete, or somebody that has it going on in the world, and how tall they walk, and their shoulders are back, and they're radiating this level of confidence. This is the energetic field that we create. Our mind is the first seed of conversation that happens in how we perceive and our experiences of the world. So what you think and the things you put in your head are so powerful.
Right. And so, and going back to when you're raised with families that maybe have a scarcity type mindset because they have whatever circumstances they have, or they are just fearful in life for whatever reason, it's really hard to unlearn that programming when you're an adult and you grow up and you're you're constantly, there's not enough. I'm afraid there's not going to be enough. I'm afraid if I don't like this job, there's not going to be another one. I have to hang on to this one. And what if the stock market crashes, or what if my candidate doesn't win, or different things like that. It really is. You have to be mindful of what you put in your mind, because
right. Well,
it's going to feed everything.
Even as you say that, you're drawing this picture. You're drawing the picture,
right?
Like your mindset from your family was, money is tight. I have to be frugal. I have to be, I say stingy, but like you're penny pinching, right? Like yes. Everything's about, if I put this in the world, I'm going to lose it, right? Even as I emulate that in our conversation, my body feels tight and scared.
Oh, I know. I don't like it.
Yeah. And so much of the time when we aren't given an opportunity to understand prosperity and abundance and what that energetic field feels like, we stay locked into that. That's why we call, limited mindset, right? Because the limited conversation you're having is about what isn't.
Right.
Like you can't control the economy. You can't control the stock market. The job that you think that is so secure, that's the only one you're ever going to get, could go belly out of business and you're out on the street anyway. Right. So you hung on to this job for so long because you think it's the only one you're going to get, and they go belly up and they fire you. Right. In the same breath, you could be taking that opportunity where you're in this job, which is good for now, but you're telling the universe, I'm open to something else. I'm looking for something else. I know there's another opportunity that's, availed to me, and I'm open to receive it. Right. It's how you're looking at the world. Like you've met those people where every time you give them a solution, they have a reason why it won't work.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what we call limited mindset. That's what we call living in scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there's a counter to scarcity, right? And people who live in scarcity also think that things happen to them. They're the victim of this. Right. See, look how hard life is for me. Look. And that's because you're creating the lesson for that to show up until you can have a breakthrough, a breakdown, or a wake-up call. Because life doesn't have to be like that. It's that you're choosing as a human in this form to have that experience for your spiritual learning, for you to understand really what that really means.
Right.
Live into it and break and step out of it.
Yeah. And from my experience, the things I'm remembering, the things which I've definitely stepped out of that over the last few years, that there is a different way. But when I grew up, I spent a lot of time with all my grandparents, and who were raised through the Depression when literally resources were scarce. So spending a lot of time with them, that was what they taught. They taught being frugal, working hard. They taught all those things when I was a child, and it gets into your makeup, of what you think all the time, and it is really hard to get rid of it and break through and understand that that's not the way that you have to think. That's not the way of the world. That you do have choice. You do have a way of changing your your circumstances and your outcomes,
Well, and
where
here's
even
the
they
thing.
didn't think that.
Here's the thing. Having a scarcity mindset back in the Depression was real. Like it is real today during the pandemic. You know, when you saw those long lines at the grocery store for paper products or not enough gasoline and long lines for people who are needing food. Like that is a reality. That exists. We have to do that to survive. And I don't want people to think that there's something wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with us. We all get lessons because that's what our spiritual agreement is, to have this lesson, to understand it at its depth and be able to transcend it. Right. So my mom grew up during the Depression too. And, you know, the things we used to save, like string and boxes and paper and, you know, just things that we think of as garbage today. Those were my mom's treasures because those things were scarce when she was little. Right. So there's nothing, I don't want people to feel like there's anything wrong. What the thing about scarcity and abundance and prosperity is understanding that it exists and that it's informing you. It's informing you to something that may be different, or it's exactly what you need to know in this lifetime for your experience of lesson and learning. But we tend to, as humans, create conditions, limitations, circumstances that keep us stuck and frustrated and not growing and inert. So when people have, you know, when people are overweight or they drink or they shop or they work out a lot or they love sex or, you know, like they were addicts to sex, all of those are forms of stuckness. Like there's something misaligned in your life that you're not allowing to flow, and you are medicating it somehow, anesthetizing it, because with your soul, it's not really falling in alignment to. Right. So you see those couples, and I'm not saying all couples, but you see many couples that have stayed together for decades and decades as they get to the ends of their lives and their relationships. They're either, a lot of people can be heavy because they eat to anesthetize the imbalance, or they're really skinny. They're really skinny because their nervous system is working so hard to keep them going because their parts of their life don't work. Right. And so having the awareness about this energetic frequency called scarcity and fear is just a level of awareness that you can use as a tool to make the adjustments in your life. So if you're struggling with weight, or you're struggling with sugar, or you're struggling with shopping, you might stop and ask, wow, why are those behaviors up for me? What am I doing? Why do I feel like I need to medicate that? Right. You know, and there might be things that come up in that conversation with yourself where you're like, you do an inventory and you're not liking what you're seeing, or it doesn't feel good. So you get a choice. You go back and keep medicating yourself, or you make the tough choice of like doing something about it and making a choice and changing it. And It's all good. There's nothing as a human being that's bad, because that is your lesson. That is your pathway to either be awake or be asleep or not know or be unconscious. Like, it's all good. There's no judgment. Right. It's what you want. What your soul says it needs. Right.
But becoming aware of it is the first step. So if you have no awareness of it at all, if you haven't stopped for a second to look at it, you may not even realize that that's what's happening. So the point is to be aware, to just recognize these things when you're, eating when you don't want food, or you're shopping when you have other things to do, or, whatever it is, just bring it into your awareness and then just take a look for a minute and see if there's.
You know what mine is?
What is yours?
Mine is watching too much TV.
I do that too.
Like if I'm feeling disconnected, or I don't want to deal with stuff, or I don't feel like I'm loved or whatever, I watch a lot of TV. Because
I've done that too.
It keeps me disconnected and I don't have to feel my feelings. And then after the, umpteenth hour, I'm like, what the hell, Christine? Like, you've been sitting in front of this TV for 10 days. What the hell?
Right. Right. And I think a lot of people, especially during the pandemic, can identify with that for sure. We've all probably watched too much TV for one reason or another.
Yep.
So let's flip it and talk about the other side of scarcity.
Oh,
The other
okay.
side of scarcity would sound like abundance.
Yeah, it's called
That's
prosperity mindset.
prosperity mindset.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Say what that means in your opinion, and then we'll discuss that a little bit too.
Okay. Well, prosperity mindset, that is the frequency of abundance. So remember when I said scarcity feels contracted and it's heavy in the body. Well, prosperity mindset, it's free, it's open, you feel joyful, like you have opportunity to, you see all things as an option for living and life and connectedness, and everything is possible, and everything you think and form in the creation of your mind and comes out into the world, and suddenly there's an experience that reinforces that, and you're having this conversation with this person and that person, and oh my god, look at how life can be. Like,
right.
That's prosperity mindset. Like, the options are endless, and you're magnetizing. Remember when I said you're bringing it in your body and it's coming out through your solar plexus and 15 feet out in front and back of you. Well, when you walk into a room, people notice you, right? People might start talking. People talk to me all the time on the street. I have people literally, just by how I show up, I have women get in my pathway out in the world, and they stand right in front of me and they'll smile at me. And then they wait for me to say hi, and they're like, hi. And then a lot of times I wear this like little headpiece. I love leis and flowers in my hair, and I wear them, and they'll go, oh, I just love your flowers. And that's why they got in my way.
They just want to be in your aura for a moment.
Yeah, and I think, so many people need acknowledgement.
Right.
They need people to see them.
Mm-hmm.
They need people to recognize, hey, you're on the planet. Hi.
Right.
I can't tell you how many simple hellos and good mornings, like what that does for people. And I do it all the time. I do it to people where I can tell, because I live next to a park. I can tell they're like, oh, we've got our masks on and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, good morning. And they're like, oh, good morning. Oh, good morning. I don't know. That was
they're shaken out of their
right
feeling, and all of a sudden, oh, somebody's talking to me. I do exist, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people. I was just telling this to my friend, when my late husband used to wake up when we first met. He would wake up all grumpy and mean, and just like slamming the coffee pot and slamming the coffee in the filter and slamming the water. Putting a lid on the water was in the coffee, but. And pouring it, and he would just be like grumpy. And we hadn't been dating that long, and this happened a couple of days in a row. And I said, like, what's your problem? What do you mean, what's my problem? Well, why are you so angry? Doesn't everybody wake up this way? And I looked at him and I said, no. And that's what his dad emulated in him as a kid. Like, it was that grumpiness and slamming, And so as a man, when he grew up, that's how he. And so after we were together, like the day after I did that, he was much more calm. There wasn't the slamming of the lid. There wasn't the, putting the water in the pot harshly, But unless somebody like jostles you out of your way of being, you have no way of knowing. You have no point of reference.
Right. You don't even realize it.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. He didn't realize it until he met me. And then, and so there was just always, there's always that moment when you wake up from that scarcity frequency, mm-hmm. and you realize, and what happens is you actually feel it in your body. So, when I'm emulating prosperity mindset, I'm like open, I'm radiating like, hey, yeah, I'm open, come talk to me. And I can't tell you how many amazing people I've met just literally walking around town. Or meeting somebody on the pickleball court, or walking, on the path. Because when you're open like that, you're inviting people, and most people are shut down and closed. So when you're walking with your body straight, with your arms back, and walking confidently, people notice that. And I'm a small person, so I'm not intimidating in that way. So I think a lot of people come towards me because I'm all a towering of 4'10". So I'm not intimidating. Like my best friend is 6'4". She's an ex-collegiate volleyball player. And when Julie walks in a room, you notice her because she's a very tall, blonde person. Right. And she's like the sweetest. Like once she opens her mouth, they're like, oh, you're so yummy. But when you just look at her, she's an athlete, she's a trainer. You look at her and you're like, shit. Like, whoa.
Don't want to make her mad.
Yeah. It's so funny when we're together because I barely like reach her hips, but walking side by side. When we're sitting down, it's better. But when we're walking side by side, we look a little silly.
Oh, that's funny. So how can we, how do you think we can have more of an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, even if our circumstances, in our opinion, in our initial opinion, because we haven't grown out of it a lot yet, how can we start to foster that abundance mindset, prosperity mindset?
Abundance,
a little more.
Abundance mindset starts with a form of gratitude, of like understanding what's available to you in this moment. So even if you're challenged economically with housing or shelter or food, the fact that you can breathe, the fact that you're walking on the planet, the fact that you're able-bodied, the fact that you can connect with someone else, just those very simple things of having gratitude for that. If you just embody that right now, like just took that little inventory and just was really grateful for that, you can feel your heart expand.
Right. You really can.
Yeah. I'm healthy. I have family. I have a place to live. I can eat. I have shelter. My children are happy. My children are alive. My children are doing well. My husband is good. My wife is, like all those things. You just take
pets are right here.
Yeah. Your pets are healthy. Like you just do like a physical inventory of gratitude and graciousness and love. I can feel that in my body, even as I, share this conversation, and my heart opens and my shoulders go back, and, I speak good things. That's the other thing too about speaking. When you're in a scarcity mindset and you speak all those things in that way, it hardens you, and then you are speaking it into reality. And that's why it keeps coming back around as a lesson. Well, when you're in abundance and you're like speaking gratitude and happiness and love and consideration and kindness, when you speak that into the world, then that occurs for you. That gets, and that's the thing. It's like, I don't know that this is a great example, but like they talk about the devil, they talk about an angel. Well, even if you just use those two metaphors of the devil, when you say the word devil and it lands in your body, how does that feel? For me, it's
heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. But when I think of an angel, I'm thinking of an angel and heaven and, lightness. When I say angel, it even brightens.
Right.
So how we speak into the world and how we see into the world, that has a lot to do with how you can break free of some old pattern. It's the level of thinking that you're speaking to yourself. Your speaking creates things into existence. Into existence creates the experience, and the experience reinforces the filter and the lesson that you're living into.
Right. So if you catch yourself saying something negative or, in that sort of mindset, try to stop for a second and reframe it. Say, okay, well, it's raining today and you're irritated about it raining or whatever, and you're driving wherever you're going. At least you have a car that you're driving in, and the rain is nourishing the planet, and we'll get to our destination. We may go a little slower, but we'll get there and it's fine. Like, not automatically take the negative approach. There's usually a silver lining somewhere if you look for it.
I always call it lemonades and lemons.
Yeah.
Right? Make lemonade out of lemons. And that example you used about rain, like in California, we have a drought. We have the severest drought ever recorded on the planet right now in the state of California. And when in the winter it'll rain, and people will be like, "Oh, I'm so sick of the rain," and I'm like, "Don't." First of all, don't be sick of the rain because A, we need it, but B, it's bringing snow to the mountains, which you get to ski, and our reservoirs are getting filled, and it's washing the plants, it's washing the car. Like, wear your rain boots and wear a raincoat and get over
right. Get over it. It's fine. I know we've had rain today, so it's but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I don't like to be out in it necessarily because I don't like to be wet. But
it's very meditative.
But I love hearing the sound of it and watching it and smelling it and the whole, experiencing it if I can, just on my porch or whatever. So
yeah, so that's the thing. It's like having a level of awareness. And here's the big secret. We talked about it before. It's choice. It's choice how you are in the world. It's choice what you focus your attention on. It's choice how you speak into your reality and your existence. It's choice.
Absolutely.
And if you're living a miserable life, guess what? You have the key because you get the choice to change it.
Right. We all have that key. It's right in our pocket. We just have to take it and use it.
Right. And know that it's there.
And know that it's there.
You are not locked into anything that you don't want. That's the beauty of the universe, of what we call this, the spiritual nature, is where before we used to think this is just our life and this is what we were given and this is how it's supposed to be. And it's always been this way. So it's always going to be this way.
Right.
Well, we live in a time of this generation where we get to break through our ancestral legacies. We in our generation get to decide, am I going to pass all that hardship, all those hard lessons, all that stuff? Am I going to pass that on to my children and my grandchildren? Or am I going to change the frequency, the experience of all that history in my lifetime, so my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren can have a different experience?
Right. Yeah. Wouldn't that be wonderful? That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and we're in the time of Aquarius right now, so this is optimal for everybody to be able to transmute to, lessons, life experiences, situations that have burdened us generationally. We get to take all of that knowledge and be able to go, okay, I got what I got. I know what I need to know. Okay. And I get to teach the morsels of that, of whatever that learning was, to my family, but they don't have to go through the experience of those hardships anymore.
Right.
I'm taking the burden on of breaking through.
Right. Well, that's great. I think that's a great place for us to wrap it up today. I've enjoyed our conversation. This has been fun. I'm going to try to be more aware this week of things that roll across my mind and out of my mouth. And hopefully our listeners will be too.
Well, thanks so much. It was awesome today. And we'll catch everybody on the other side.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening, everybody. If you know somebody who could benefit from this, please share.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Intuition First. We're so glad that you chose to spend your time with us today. If you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please share it with them and tag us on Instagram at Intuition First. We'd love to hear what you enjoyed and what you'd like to hear more of. And until the next time, keep listening to your intuition. It really knows what it's talking about.